Good morning. It is Wednesday, the 22nd of October 2025. My name is Graham Hughes. You are watching Morning Brew on Politics Social. I hope you're all doing well this morning. It looks quite nice out here in Durham. Presumably, said David Smith, we're going to see Reeves get back on her fiscal rules. That was so obviously a bad idea. Criticism of Brexit is absolutely fair, but Labour snookered themselves with anti-immigration stance. Yes, I agree, David. So we'll be getting into that in a moment. But first, let me just say a big hello to Billy Kershaw, to Big Malian, to Liam Fairhurst, to Ms. Paula Thomas, to Billy Kershaw again, to Martin Harrow. We've got Plum Duff in the chat. We've got Diz. We've got Sid. We have got Hannah. And we've also got Hannah. We've also got Plum in there as well. Hello, everybody. How you all doing? If you'd like to join our friends in the chat, become one of our friends, all you need to do is hit the big juicy subscribe button and wait patiently for 59 or so seconds, and you'll be able to join in the chat. So please do that. We're talking Brexit. We're talking the fucking Brexit. You know, the one that I spent years fighting, telling everyone it was going to be a bad idea, having to suffer the indignation of people who know me, like people who've known me for years, saying, well, Graham, you might have a degree in politics and modern history, and you might have been to every single country in the motherfucking world, but what you don't understand is, and then they would regurgitate a headline that they had read from the Daily fucking Mail. Yeah. I don't think I'll ever get over that. I do not think I think there's a lot of us who will never get over the Brexit wars, never get over the fact that we were screaming at the top of our lungs that the privileged private school elite were lying to everyone, and yet people loved the lie. They wanted the lie. They were allowed to get away with murder. They were. Literal murder. And then we get to today. I mean, Labour have been in charge now for nearly a year and a half. And they haven't said anything about Brexit being a bad thing when Labour in opposition until 2024. Didn't really mention it. Didn't really come up too much. It wasn't much of a thing that they thought was worth mentioning. Absolute cock up from top to bottom, left to right, as Plum says. What a cock up it was. Yeah, but it wasn't a cock up for the rich. It wasn't a cock up for the super wealthy and for the Russians who orchestrated the whole fucking thing. But for years we weren't allowed to talk about it. The media called us Ramonas. Farage went from saying if it was a disaster he would leave the country to saying it was a disaster and not leaving the country. But we were told to suck it up by Farage and his private school elites. Nice. And that included Labour, you know. They treated Brexit like some sacred relic that no one could possibly fucking question. But now, Starmer, Rachel Reeves, Labour in general are finally calling Brexit what it is. A fucking disaster. A fucking disaster. Sorry to demonetize the show so early on, but this is a subject that just enrages me on every level, because there's still people out there. There's still people out there who are so fucking deluded. And I throw them in the same camp as the people who are like well into communism and the people who are well into capitalism, who go, it would work if everyone, it's never been done properly. You know, free market economics. I know it's been a disaster everywhere it's been tried in the world, but if we did it properly, then it would work. Which is about as fucking ridiculous as thinking that you could get a cardboard box, draw a couple of wheels on the side of it, and think that you're going to fucking be able to drive to Tesco in it. The problem isn't the idea, okay? The problem is the idea can never be carried out to any level of satisfaction. So actually, no, the problem is the idea. Take that back. It's a good idea on paper, communists say. No, it's not. For the same reason capitalism is, the whole unbridled, no government interference, libertarian ideal of capitalism. It's absolute bollocks. It always falls apart. Libertarianism always falls apart. Because they're like, oh, well, hang on, we don't have a police now. We don't have, oh, someone's got ill and we don't have a health system to look after them. Well, you got to pay for it themselves. Yeah, but not everyone can be filthy fucking rich because then the system falls down. Libertarianism, capitalism, communism all falls down because of one human trait, greed. Brexit falls down because it's a fucking terrible idea from the get-go. But today we're going to be asking, why now? What changed? And how far is Labour willing to go? Brexit has cost the UK 4% of its GDP, according to the OBR, a permanent economic downgrade. That's tens of billions every year. So far, it's cost us over £140 billion, which is twice the money we spend on schools in a given year. SMEs are strangled by paperwork. Farmers are dumping produce because no one will buy it. Musicians are blocked from touring in the EU. Foreign investment in the in the UK, has collapsed since Brexit. Like gone off a fucking cliff. It's down like 90%. Foreign investment in the UK just went. Look at the charts and get to 2016, and as soon as we voted out the EU, it's like, well, no one wants to invest in us anymore because we had turned ourselves into an isolationist nation. The North Korea of Europe. Why would we do that to ourselves? Because the posh people told us to. Because these fucking dickheads out there, working class, middle class, upper class, doesn't matter what fucking class they are. People from all walks of life, all creeds, all different religions, all different ethnicities, all different sexualities. They voted for fucking Brexit. They voted for this. They voted to impose economic sanctions on ourselves. Economic sanctions on ourselves. Turn ourselves into the North Korea of Europe. That was the goal. That's what they wanted. Out on our own. Living day to day at the largesse of countries like Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Russia. Yeah, and then when things go really tits up because, I don't know, Russia invades its neighbour and global gas prices go through the roof, we suddenly start learning how stupid that isolationist position is. The only person who have cause to like Brexit is Putin. Yeah, thanks for the super chat there, Miss Paula Thomas. I think that the rich elites in this country love Brexit. I mean, it's made them very, very rich. Nigel Farage has made millions out of Brexit. The rest of us have been left broke because of Brexit. You know, I've told the story before about my job back in the day, making videos, shooting videos and presenting videos around Europe. I can't do that anymore. I can't do my old job. It was great. Just work for a week in some country and have a great time. You have a crew. You have a fucking... I used to have like a makeup artist for this fucking mug. Can you believe that? That was all taken away from me by Brexit. And what else was taken away from me? Well, the dream of ever buying a house in this country. If I was going to have kids, I needed to have them by now. And I haven't because I didn't have the money. I didn't have the money because of fucking Brexit. Because of Nigel fucking Farage. And that's why I hope he burns in hell. Because I fucking hate that man. With a pathological loathing. That's, you'd normally reserve for, a psychopath or something. Me being the psychopath in this situation. But Nigel Farage can fuck all the way off to hell. Along with Boris Johnson. And to be honest with you, the previous leader of Labour, who did nothing to support us, did nothing to help. Whose marchers went through Manchester just a few months before that fateful election in 2019, right? And they said, we don't want to see a single EU flag at our march, our Labour march. We don't want a single EU flag. We don't want to see one at that march. Nice people. I blame them all. And all these people that I'm blaming are all fucking multimillionaires who live a very nice life, who've stolen my future, who've stolen the future of many of the people watching this, and they've definitely stolen the future of the next generation. Kids who can no longer live and work in the EU. They've taken that from them. Didn't take it from their own fucking kids though, did they? Did they? No, they fucking didn't. Cunts. Sorry. Keep dropping the C-bomb. I'm a little bit more sort of wound up these days because the bad guys are winning. They're fucking winning. They are fucking winning in every fucking way they can win. And it's driving me up the fucking wall. So yeah, 4% knock to the GDP, a permanent downgrade, right? And exports and red tape, the fact that just buying and selling stuff to our closest neighbour, the biggest economic trading bloc in the world, has become more expensive, and we've become less competitive as a result. Why would you make yourself less competitive? The way it was explained to us when we went to the WTO was like, imagine you're in a car and you're going down the motorway and there's all different cars, from all different countries, all, trotting along. Some be a bit behind, some a bit ahead. And then suddenly you just slam the car into first gear, just for no reason. You just go, I'm going to slam it into first gear. Will the engine explode? Don't know, whatever. You're going to have to pull over at some point and sort things out, I think. And then by the time you got off the hard shoulder back onto the motorway, you'll find that all those other economies are now well ahead of us. Like Poland, right, which was it wasn't part of the USSR, but it was part of the sphere of influence of Moscow. It was basically run by the Muscovites for many years. The butchering, murderous Muscovites. They have gone from an economy that was in the absolute pits in the early 90s to a point now where in a few years' time, they are predicted to overtake Britain when it comes to GDP per capita. Poland. Why? Because of Brexit. Because of Brexit. Foreign investment in the UK, like I said, it's collapsed. Factories closed. Car manufacturing at risk. The impact on the NHS, the staff crisis has worsened. But also, we've got more people coming from other countries to the NHS, which is what Putin wants, which is what Farage wants, because they know that old nasty little racists, not all boomers, old nasty little racists will go to the hospital. They'll be cured of whatever the fuck problem they have. And then they'll bitch about the fact that the person who cured them wasn't white. And this is exactly what they wanted. Farage wants immigrants. He wants immigrants especially from Africa, from Asia, because they look different. And you can spot them. And you can go, oh, look, they're not from around here. Let's go and harass them. Let's say we're losing our culture. We're losing our culture. What the fuck? If you want to find me a country that has no cultural links to the UK, go on. Name me one. Name me one country in the world that has absolutely no cultural links to the UK whatsoever. I'd be fucking amazed. Can you squint and say Bhutan? Maybe? Bhutan? No, because the borders were drawn by a British person. Okay, what about North Korea? Well, no, because the British were involved in the Korean fucking war, which led to the DMZ, which is the dividing line between North and South Korea. So, no, you can't have that either. Go on, where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? That had nothing to do with the British, Indonesia, that was the Dutch, wasn't it? No, because Britain ran Papua New Guinea. So the dividing line down the middle, which is pretty much a straight line, except for a small bump in it for some reason, down the middle of the island of New Guinea, was drawn by the British. Yeah, so the influence of Britain, the cultural influence, the military influence, the societal influence, the legal influence, the sports influence. So name me a country that doesn't play football. The rules of associated football were devised in Britain. I know that football wasn't invented in Britain, but the rules of associated football were made in Britain. Any country that plays rugby, any country that plays tennis, might be French, golf, definitely British, Scottish, in fact, cricket. These games, there you go, there's some cultural fucking impact. And that's why the English Premier League is one of the most watched fucking sporting events in the world. You see it. You go travelling. I've been halfway up a fucking mountain in Borneo, and they've had the fucking match on the telly. They've had the English Premier League on the telly in a little fucking shack halfway up a fucking mountain in the middle of a fucking rainforest. That's how popular it is. I climbed up Mount Sinai, and the guy at the top was wearing a Liverpool shirt. Do you know what I mean? Like, look, I'm sorry, but the idea that no one in the world has a right to come here because they don't share our fucking culture, fuck off. We didn't have a right to go around the fucking world, but we did. But there you go. This is what Farage said. He said, take back control, wasn't it? Him and that fucking Johnson creep and Cummings and Aaron Banks, Andy Wigmore, Richard Tice, and Michael Gove, Isabel Oak shit, Jacob Rees-Mogg. Stop me when I mention someone who went to a state school, please. Please, when I'm reading off a list of names of prominent Brexiteers, Patrick Minford, just stop me and say, no, Nick Ferrari, that fucking gobshite who does the TV show. What was it? The politics show on the BBC, but he was also the editor of Spectator. Oh, Andrew Neil, that's the one. He liked a bit of Brexit, didn't he? Yeah, private school. But there you go. For the swear jar. Thank you very much for the £2 super chat, Sid, for the swear jar. But, I'm right, aren't I? Well, they can't have my crumpets, says Plum. Oh, you maybe want crumpets now, Plum. Oh, I love crumpets. Dead hot fucking crumpet. The kind that kind of, accidentally burn your face when you put it in it. God, it's so hot. Get a crumpet, get a butter, get a load of fucking honey. Goes in all the little holes. Oh, yeah. I used to have a partner who couldn't eat crumpets because of a strange phobia, which is to do with holes. Synesthesia? No, that's not. That's something else. That's where you see colours or something. You hear colours. Or you see colours with sounds. There's a particular term for it. And basically, if you're confronted with the whole nature of a crumpet, it's absolutely fucking terrifying. True story. I think there was a campaign to get a picture of something with lots of holes in it off the Wikipedia page about this particular condition, because if you had it and you were looking it up, the last thing you needed was Wikipedia showing you a picture of a thing with lots of holes in. There you go. Trypophobia. That's it, old Paul. Trypophobia. Or trypophobia. Trypophobia. What a weird thing. What a weird thing humans are. ABC, always be campaigning. Absolutely. One of my suppliers has been brought out by a American firm. They have closed the local warehouse, whacked up the prices of the products, and doubled delivery costs. Does that surprise anybody? Brett Wall, the mini EU collab in the spring had some good shit in there. I'm not a Starmer Glazer. All that shit went cold after the EU fucked off. Yeah. No, the fact that they're having a meeting every year now with the EU to try and improve relations is a very good thing. It is a very, very good thing. And I'm hoping that the battleground, if they're smart, if Labour get their shit together, maybe replace Starmer, but definitely get their shit together for 2029, I think they can make Brexit the thing, going back into the EU, rejoining. I reckon that they can make that the campaign tactic, because the Brexit shitters and the Tories, I don't think they've got a leg to stand on when it comes to Brexit. They don't want to talk about it. Nigel Farage doesn't want to talk about it. That's really interesting. His greatest political triumph, and he barely mentions it. Because it's a fucking disaster. Everybody knows it was a disaster. We didn't take back control. We took back fucking decline. Cost of living. Brexit increased food bills by a third due to increased trade friction. Every shop receipt that you get reminds you that Brexit is a fucking farce. And then there's the thing about immigration, it's higher now than when we were in the EU, and irregular crossings by boats has gone through the roof. It's absolutely skyrocketed. Well, it wasn't a thing. In 2016, no one came over on a boat. Not a single recorded crossing on a boat in 2016. 2017, it's 2 people. And after that, no, we were pulling out the Dublin Agreement, and so we couldn't return refugees to France or to Belgium or from wherever they came. We were no longer part of the system that fingerprinted refugees. If they had applied for asylum anywhere in the EU, we could send them away and say, no, you've been sent down by Finland or something, so we're not going to take you. And we lost access to all that. We lost access to Europol, European police records and stuff. So we can have criminals coming over here from Europe, and we won't even know they're fucking criminals. We also now have to wait up in a queue for hours and hours on end to get into Europe, because we have to have our fingerprints scanned and our irises scanned and our, inside leg measurements taken and our dad's maiden name fucking logged. And we have to do all this stuff. We have to do all this stuff because we're not members of the EU anymore. It's pure Brexit. Where did the 350 million for the NHS go? God knows. Didn't go into the NHS, I'll tell you that for now. Turkey joining the EU. Here we are, nearly 10 years later. Has Turkey joined the EU? Has it fuck? We had a veto, so we could have stopped it at any point. So Turkey was not going to join the EU unless we allowed Turkey to join the EU. Brexit will make us richer. Sunlit uplands. Bullshit! Bullshit on toast. Would you like some bullshit on toast? No, well, don't vote for fucking Brexit then, you stupid bastards. These weren't mistakes. These were deliberate lies sold by career grifters like Farage and Johnson and corrupt opportunists, you know, who just wanted to make a quick buck and fuck everyone in the process and do the bidding of their masters in Russia. You know, take back control to Moscow, to fucking Moscow, a country that's, you know, Russia's been our enemy for fucking ever. You know, even though they were our friends, they were our fucking enemy. You know, there was no time in history where, you know, Russia's really been on our fucking side. They did a deal. What was it? The Molotov fucking ribbon pack or whatever the fuck it was called. The pact that they had between Stalin and Hitler. You know, Stalin didn't give a fuck about the rest of Europe. He didn't give a fuck about us. It was only once Hitler basically disrupted the Molotov-Ribbentrop fucking pact. Someone's going to tell me in the chat now what it was fucking called. That you know, they went in all guns blazing against the Nazis, and yeah, loads of Russians died. Yeah, but loads of Russians died unnecessarily because the leader was a fucking psychopath, and he just fed human beings into the meat grinder. He didn't give a fuck. He didn't give a fuck. He's famous for saying that one death is a tragedy, a million is a statistic. So there you go. Brexit was never a revolution. It was just a scam. From top down, left, right. It was a crypto scam. It was a pyramid scheme. It was just a load of bullshit. It was a load of fucking hot air that has made us poorer, demonstrably poorer, weaker, diminished our position on the world stage. Francis Winrow, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. That's very kind of you. Labour version, would you like some red lines on toast, says Nick in the chat. Well, I think the red lines are going to change. We're going to see, because this upcoming budget next month is going to be very, very interesting. And I don't think it's going to be an austerity budget. I don't, because austerity has been shown not to work, and Labour would be absolutely fucking mental to do that. But you never know. I don't think they're getting the best advice. But they are going to blame anything that goes wrong. Things are going to go wrong on Brexit, which is fair enough, because that's where the blame should really lie, because then you can hang it like a concrete albatross around the neck of Nigel Farage, who's doing very well at the polls right now. So let's make it so he doesn't do very well in the polls. Labour stayed silent for a long time about Brexit because they wanted to avoid scaring the Red Wall Leave voters. The fear of being, you know, branded anti-democratic or unpatriotic, like someone coming up to me at Glastonbury when I had bollocks the Brexit flag. You hate democracy! And I'm like, no. When we have a general election, we don't go, all right, that's it. We're all done now forever. We don't need another election. You know, we've made that decision. Now, democracy changes. Democracy changes every fucking day. That's why we have local elections. That's why we have national elections, general elections. That's why we used to have European elections. You know, people change their mind. They vote a different way. And that's fine. You know, I mean, it might upset some Brexiteers. It might upset Owen Jones. Well, it used to, that you'd vote for somebody else other than the party that you've always voted for. It's not a footy team, Owen. But, you know, the fact is that people change their minds. They go, oh, no, I'm not going to vote for them anymore. And most people have changed their minds about Brexit. I mean, some people would still vote for it, obviously, but they acknowledge it was a bad thing. They just hate this country, and that's why they voted for Brexit, because they wanted to destroy this country. They wanted to destroy us economically. They wanted to destroy us socially, and they wanted people to suffer. They wanted British people and people who live here to be scared to go out the house. That's what they wanted. They wanted families torn apart. They still do. This is what the Brexiters want. They want deportation of law-abiding citizens who have built families here, who are on indefinite leave to remain because they've married a British person and they live here, they've got children here. They want to tear those families apart because these people are sick motherfuckers. They're sick, twisted motherfuckers who just want to destroy. You just want to cause pain and heartbreak for other people because they're sadists. They're fucking sadists. Whether, you know, it doesn't matter what the background is. They want to cause harm to people in this country, which is really fucking grim when you think about it for more than 5 seconds. But yes, the sort of the media pressure was very much like, you know, don't talk about Brexit, don't touch our sacred Brexit, and Labour seem to fall into that trap. But Labour have now made a tactical calculation. If they don't talk Brexit, they risk losing power. So now Labour are finally shifting their tone. calling Brexit an affliction and blaming Farage and Johnson for our economic decline. Is it too little, too late? I don't know. The election's a long way off. Your mileage may vary. So, Reform survives by talking about immigration and culture wars. They're terrified of talking about Brexit, but the immigration they're talking about is caused by their Brexit. Farage helped cause the chaos, but now he avoids taking responsibility. And this is an opportunity for Labour to force Farage to defend his own failure. To go, no, actually, Brexit was a great idea. It was just done badly. Well, what did you want to do differently? Well, I want to go to WTO rules. The WTO doesn't fucking work anymore. Trump has destroyed the WTO. What rules are you going to go to? The things we needed were decent trading deals with countries around the world, which we had through the EU, instead of the capitulation deals that we've drawn up with, Malawi, Papua New Guinea, Australia, the one where they're allowed to bring in 20,000 tons of beef every year into the UK from Australia, and we can't sell them a single steak. Not a soggy brisket. Not one. We have no tariff-free quota the other way for our beef farmers. Nice done, isn't it? Thanks for that, Tory government. Thanks for that, Boris Johnson. Chris C, thank you so much for the £5 super chat. It's very generous of you. Reeves is looking at further cuts to welfare and services. To me, that is an austerity budget. I don't see Reeves upsetting the wealthiest in the UK. I agree, Chris, that if that does happen, we can brand it an austerity budget, which will make a bad situation even worse, and call them fucking idiots. I mean, Labour have not been showering themselves in glory over the last year and a half, as far as I'm concerned. I know other people seem to think that they're doing a great job, which it's a bit odd, but whatever. But I'm sorry, but they're not doing great, are they? But yeah, going after welfare, bad call, Labour. Go after the rich. Go after the filthy rich. Go after the 50 people in the UK that own 50% of the wealth in the UK. Go after those motherfuckers. Yeah. Let's close those loopholes. Let's close those fucking loopholes. You can't buy land and then say, I'm a farmer. I don't have to pay my kids don't have to pay inheritance tax. So stop having trusts. The rich have trusts when they cark it, so that their kids get all the benefits, and the money's held in a trust, but they have access to it and drive around in Ferraris and sniff loads of cocaine, because that's what rich people do. They're all coked up Ferrari drivers until they wrap the Ferrari around a tree because of all the cocaine in their system. 4% might not sound like a lot. However, imagine earning 30k a year. 4% from removed from your salary, that would be 1,200. This for some can mean the difference between being in the black or the red, says Fekapuni. Yeah, absolutely. My neighbour's wife arrived last Christmas. Can't work on her visa. Lovely people. My neighbour wants to vote for refuck because he's hurting. Brett, your neighbour's a fucking idiot. I mean, I'm sorry, but you got a wife who comes from another country, and they're like, I'm going to vote for people who want to throw out people like my wife. Yeah. But the rich fill the wardrobes of Starmer memes. Yeah, true. What would I wear if it wasn't for the rich? To be fair, Owen Jones was completely right about Starmer would run Labour and also Palestine, says David Smith. Well, I don't know, because I think Owen and also Femi to some extent absolutely hate Starmer, and I think that's a bit unhelpful. Like when you're so blinded by absolute hatred towards someone that you can't acknowledge sometimes they actually do a decent thing. To be fair to Femi, when he did his review of Starmer's speech at the Labour Party conference this year, he did give credit where credit was due in certain respects for what Starmer had said, particularly bringing up Brexit. But yeah, I do think what I was talking about specifically there was the fact that Owen Jones had a go at me for voting for the Lib Dems in the past and voting for myself in the past against Labour. And that meant I couldn't have an opinion on Labour. And at the time, and the country needed the Tories out. That was it. We needed the Tories fucking gone from the levers of power, as far away from the levers of power as humanly possible. And we did it. They were down to 121 MPs. 121 MPs. They lost so many seats. They lost so many. Liz Truss, the former Prime Minister, lost her fucking seat in North Norfolk Radio or wherever the fuck it was. I'm sorry, but they needed gone, right? And the point I made to Owen at the time, and I'll stand by this, is get Labour in, right, because we need the Tories out, and then hold them to account, which is, I hope, what we've been doing on this channel for the last year and a half, where I've been pretty much slagging Labour off a lot, giving them credit where credit's due, but saying, no, they're not going far enough. And I'm really fucking annoyed and agitated and disgusted at certain policies that Labour have pursued, like going after trans people. Like, why the fuck would you do that? Going after disabled people, saying we're going to change things on PIP. No. And even the Labour MPs rebelled against that. And I'm hoping that that's going to be an ongoing thing. Like, every time the Labour leadership decide to do something really fucking stupid, the Labour caucus, the Labour MPs will turn around and go, fuck off, you're not doing it. So that's my hope. But my point wasn't that. My point was about the fact that, you're not allowed to have a view on Labour unless you've voted for them since you were a fetus. And I'm like, I don't give a shit, man. I didn't vote for them in 2005 after the Gulf War. No, fuck that shit. In 2010, I did vote Labour in 2010. But that was more to do with the fact that I liked my MP at the time, Stephen Twigg in West Derby, Liverpool. I wasn't in the country, by the way. I was in Kuwait in that election in 2010. I watched the election results come in with the incredibly posh, privately educated ambassador, the British ambassador for Kuwait, and just kept on asking him where the fucking Ferrero Rochers were. David Farrell, thank you very much for the 78 Hong Kongian dollars. That is very kind of you. Britain to rejoin the EU to join BRICS, rename the global union, and fuck off the USA. That'll be a planet for all our grandchildren. One world under heaven, as we say in China. Yeah, I can't really see the EU joining a trade bloc with Russia anytime soon. But, Brazil, conceivably. India, yeah, maybe. South Africa, don't see why not. China, that'd be a bit difficult. China's quite protectionist, but you never know. But we're not Russia. Russia can fuck off. We'll join the BICS countries. Fucking hell, the idiocy of some people is stunning. Talking to Brett there, Martin is, about your neighbour, Brett. I mean, Jesus. Rising, the EU will not engage in rejoin application while there is a potential divide about the pros and cons of Brexit. There must be political consensus for an application to proceed. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Rising Tide, and it's something that we've said many times on this channel. It's not good enough for the people who never wanted to leave the EU to be screaming about this. We need to get people on side. It's not just political will, it's like people. We need the people power. We need to make sure that when we have our referendum to rejoin the EU, we get a supermajority, like we did in 1975. Supermajority, mate. 2/3 of the population voted to stay in what was then the EEC. We had a referendum. We had one in 1975. We had one. Oh, but we were lied to. Sweetie, were you lied to in 1975? Were you lied to? I don't think you were, because we have the records. We have the newspapers from 1975, which talk about an ever closer union. They talk about political ties as well as economic ties. It wasn't just a free market thing. No, it wasn't just a trading thing. It was always more than that. It was always more than that. Dizzy Dizzle says, best talking to people who are swayed towards Farage. I convinced my neighbour not to vote for them. It worked. Yeah, absolutely. I've talked to people who were going, yeah, Farage got the right idea. Talk to them because they're being lied to, and you need to explain to them why they're being lied to, and that for Farage, it is just a fucking grift. Harushi says, you've got Blue Labour who are equally as ghoulish. Yeah, Blue Labour can fuck off. I was going to say as well, like, before the next election, I don't think that Morgan McSweeney is going to last as his chief advisor, chief of staff or whatever. I really can't see that happening, because there's not much love for him in the Labour upper echelons, I've got to say. And also, like, if Starmer doesn't improve things in the polls, they're going to have to get rid of him. That's as simple as that. They're going to have to get rid of him. The Tories are brutal as fuck. If they see a leader isn't doing well, they will get rid of them. There's no fucking period of grace where they allow them to get away with it for a little bit. They don't. They just get rid of them. Look at Liz Truss, not for long because she's vacant and annoying, but like she lasted 44 days. They normally have a thing with leader of the Conservative Party. They get 1 year's grace before the letters start coming in from the 1922 committee. But no, this time, they just went, no, get rid of her. She's an absolute fucking liability. Get rid of her. And we had that fucking, what was her name? The stand up and fight woman standing up in Parliament saying about she did the Prime Minister's questions, didn't she? What's her fucking name? Stand up and fight woman. And she stood up and she said, yeah, Liz Truss it's not like she's hiding under a desk. And as soon as she said that, you knew that Liz Truss was in her office hiding under the fucking desk, refusing to leave. McSweeney out, Campbell in, says Colin. I don't know about Alistair Campbell, although he is very pro-EU, so maybe that might be a good idea. Penny Mordaunt, that's it. Penny the sword holder. Thank you, Penny Mordaunt. Written constitutional PR, elected second chamber and a republic, says Mr. Tusk. That would be nice, but I'm sorry, I don't really see that happening in our fucking lifetimes. I mean, I think we'd be lucky to get back into the EU in our fucking lifetimes the way things are going. Because it's not what the money people want. The money people want the monarchy to continue forever because it's easy to bribe. You can buy them things, and get your VIP lane. It's access, isn't it? The access to different MPs and politicians and prime ministers changes over time, but monarchs, they stay there for quite a while. Get them on sides, get them lobbying in your quarter. You're laughing, aren't you? By royal appointment. Campbell is a spent force. I imagine he has a lot of baggage to come out. I don't think he'd want the job, to be honest with you. I think he just wants to stay doing his very posh podcast. Alistair Campbell also went to private school, by the way, as did Rory Stewart, and that's why they're allowed to do a podcast together, which is nice. And there won't be a perfect rejoin. It starts with political goodwill in the UK side. Once UK government signals the desire to return to the single market, restore freedom of movement, things will move faster than most people think. Yeah, Nick. I mean that's why I talk about the steps towards rejoining the EU, and it's got to include rejoining the single market. It's got to include rejoining the customs union. And once we're in the customs union and the single market, we're a rule taker, we're not a rule maker, and then it makes the argument very simple for rejoining the EU. We want to have a say on our trading basis, and the idea that we can go it alone. We tried that, it doesn't work, so we're going to go in with the EU again. Makes sense, but I think it's going to take a long time. You got to understand that there is a lot of emotional investment in Brexit. A lot of people, like Graham Linehan and his transphobia, he sacked off his wife and his children in pursuit of his transphobia, and that's all he's got now. And there's a lot of people who sacked off their friends and family in pursuit of Brexit, in the pursuit of their love of fucking Brexit. And as a result, they've got no one left. They're old now, they're lonely, and all they have to keep them going is their beloved Brexit. You take that away from them, you take away their reason to live. You got to understand that they are in love. They are absolutely infatuated with their Brexit, even though it's fucking awful, even though it's dreadful. And that's why, I mean, the polls aren't great for people changing their mind. It's only 52% would rejoin the EU tomorrow. I mean, that's not great. It needs to be at least 66% before we can even think about saying to the EU, hey, this is settled now. Because you only need someone like Farage to come along and hoodwink people, lie to people, and get them on side. So let's talk about how Labour could play this situation that we've got now. So we've got they could acknowledge that they've acknowledged that Brexit has damaged things. They've talked about fixing Brexit, making Brexit work, which is as far as I'm concerned, it's daft. It's like making your cardboard car work. There's been no bold policy. They've avoided debate about the EU. Brexit has hardly come up in Prime Minister's questions or in any kind of debates, really. And when we did have a debate earlier this year on Brexit, it wasn't held in the House of Commons. It was held in one of the other rooms in Parliament. It's doing this sort of. It's playing it's playing to the safety cards, isn't it? It's like it's weak though. It keeps Remainers cold, but it doesn't hurt Farage much. You really need to hurt Farage. So what I would do is pin Brexit on Farage forever. Frame Farage as the architect of Britain's decline, Nigel Farage broke Brexit and now broke Britain, and now he wants to finish the job. Tie every crisis, the NHS, the economy, the cost of living, back to Brexit. High impact, politically effective, shifts blame to reform right now. And then there's the pragmatic rejoin pathway, which we talked about, customs union, single market return, EU youth mobility scheme, which we've already got, and well, it's not been implemented yet, but it will be. And then build gradual partnerships leading to rejoin. And this is a long-term rebuild plan, but media will scream traitors at everything. But the reality is they haven't got much of a leg to stand on if we stand up against them as one and say, look, you tried your thing, Grandad. Didn't fucking work, did it, you daft bastard? No, that's why I don't visit you in the nursing home. Option D, call a Brexit truth. My grandparents are long gone, so I'm not talking about mine. I'm just saying that as an allegory. Call together. This is something that I think we should have, right? We need an impact assessment. We need an impact assessment on Brexit. Labour need to commission that. We also need a Brexit truth commission. We need to investigate the vote leave lies. We need to reveal the dark money, the Russian interference in the fraud referendum. We need to demand accountability for political fraud. And this is, this could be explosive. This could be fucking explosive, and could lead to Nigel Farage going to jail. Wouldn't you love to see that? I'd fucking love to see that. I'd love to see him rot in a cell for the rest of his miserable, godforsaken life. So who profits from Brexit? Who profited from it? Hedge funds, tax dodgers. Why was it set up in the first place? Because the EU was bringing in new tax directives that would tax people who had money scribbled away in the Cayman Islands and the Turks and Caicos Islands and other, offshore places where you could just, funnel money and no one asked you where it came from. Like the 7 million that Aaron Banks gave to the Leave.eu fund, the campaign that came via the Isle of Man, that no one's ever bothered investigating. Where did it come from? Where did you get that 7 million from? So then, as far as I'm concerned, Labour need to do this. They need to make Brexit a class war issue. They need to have this pragmatic rejoin pathway. They need to bring in a Brexit Truth Commission and have an impact assessment into Brexit. So it's not just people going, oh, well, it's 4% knock to the economy, which doesn't sound that much, but actually, tell it in visceral terms how many. You have a commission, right? You have an inquiry, and then you have people whose lives have been torn apart, have been ruined by Brexit because they're small companies that they run. You could have farmers on there, you could have fisher folk on there saying that we have lost everything because of Brexit. This is how we need to do this. We need a call to reality. We can't fix Britain without telling the truth. Brexit was a con. Brexit was a con. They lied. National sabotage operation disguised as patriotism. Putting economic sanctions on ourselves. And until politicians stop being cowards and call it what it is, this country will stay stuck in the economic quagmire that we've found ourselves in for the last 9 years. For the last 18 years. The last 18 years. Can you believe that? That's how long this shit has gone on for now. 18 years of our economy doing fucking shite. We had the bloody credit crunch, then we had the Tory austerity, the Tory Lib Dem austerity, which fucked us economically. We were just about recovering, maybe, perhaps a little bit slower than we should have done. And then along comes Brexit, absolutely smashes everything. And then comes COVID. And then comes Liz Truss's mini fucking budget. What did you think would happen if you did all this shit? But this is the libertarian wet dream. This is taking money from poor people, pulling ourselves out of international governmental organisations, pulling back local government, pulling back national government, interfering in the way that people run their businesses and lead their lives. And these people are sick. These people who support this kind of policies are sick motherfuckers. They're the kind of people who want the government not to come and take money off them for, to pay for schools and hospitals and things that they rely on. They don't want that. They what they want is to pay no tax and for everyone else to suffer as a consequence. And not very nice people, gotta say. But yeah, that's why Brexit happened. Anyway, Chris says, in other news, what's everyone's thoughts on the shit show that is the grooming inquiry? 3 survivors are quit and the potential chairwoman has also pulled out. Yeah, I was going to come to that because it's actually mentioned in the papers, which I'm going to go to in a moment. Unfreeze tax allowances, which apparently we can't afford. Everyone will get a free pay rise. Everyone will get a pay rise. The feeling towards Brexit in the Isle of Man is pretty pro. It doesn't really affect them. My cousin can't see why people complain about it. Yeah, well, yeah, there you go. I was in power. If I was in power, I'd bring back the 90s, get back into Europe and nationalise the energy, internet, water and transport. Yeah. Yep. Well, Labour are renationalising the trains. Over half of the trains now in Britain are now nationalised. Over half. And by 2028, they should all be. Which is pretty good going. So by the next election, our entire train network should be nationalised, which is fantastic. And I'm hoping that the way it's set up is that you work for Great British Rail and you sign up as a ticket inspector or conductor, whatever, and you can work on different trains. It's not like, no, I can't go on that train that takes exactly the same route from here to there because it's a different company. I've got a contract. You see, I've got a contract with Trans Pennine Express, and so I can't possibly get on this LNER train. That kind of thing is ridiculous and it needs to stop. And it means that trains will run a lot more efficiently because one of the big things that we have a problem with our train system is that the train companies don't work together very well. There's no, if a train is late and then you miss your connection, you can't necessarily get the next train because it might be run by a different company. That's ridiculous. And but also the staff thing is huge. If you've got train drivers who can drive trains on a certain length of track on certain, all these trains are different, but they can drive that train, they can drive it on that bit of track, then it shouldn't matter whether they are Northern or LNER or Trans Pennine Express or GWR or whatever the fucking myriad of companies out there. It shouldn't fucking matter. You should be able to go from one to the other as necessary, and that would improve punctuality so much. I've been in York so many times when we've been waiting for a member of staff to get on the train. Okay, so G, can you turn off the live restrictions? I have a refuck rants versus benefits. What we got? It'd be boring because I'll be sitting here clicking things on me. I'll be clicking things forever, my friend. The reason why I've got that delay is because people were exploiting it. The fact that there was no delay to fill up the entire chat with just them doing whatever the fuck they wanted to do, dominating the chat. It was unfair on other people, and some people used it to be racist. So because it got around the filters, if they just put one letter in at a time. Yeah, so not going back there. Sorry, you'll have to rant somewhere else. Sorry, very sorry, my friend. Okay, so the times. Here we have a Highland Fling, how to get Claudia's style. Why you need a PA bag like Julia Roberts. I don't think I do. Ministers lead calls for sponging Andrew to quit Royal Lodge. This is an almost unbelievable story where Prince Andrew has been paying what they call a peppercorn rent since 2002, I think. He's got a 30-room property, right? He's had that for 2 decades now. And under the terms of the lease, he agreed to pay 1 million plus at least 7.5 million for the lodge's refurbishment, which entitled him and his family to live there rent-free until 2076. 78, sorry, 78. No. Just no. Chancellor plans 2 billion tax raise on the middle class. This is what we were mentioning before. This isn't austerity, right? This is a bit of a weird one. So the way that they've framed this in this Tory rag, The Times, right, which is owned by Rupert Murdoch, who obviously just wants right-wing libertarians in power everywhere in the world all at once. They framed it as a raid on the middle class, when actually this is a bit of a tax loophole that doctors, so GPs, right, and lawyers use this quite a lot, where they set up partnerships, right, and it means that the family lawyers family doctors and lawyers use this as a means to evade sorry, wrong word, avoid paying as much tax as they should, which I think is a bit unfair because, come on, lawyers and doctors, once you've reached that, the upper echelons, are some of the best paid people on the fucking planet. So, Trump abandons hope of Putin summit, which is Putin and Trump were going to hope to trek to the summit of Everest without oxygen masks, apparently. That was going to be great. Carrying a hod of bricks each. And there's a big picture in the middle. This is the big picture in the middle of the Times here, which is that's Nicolas Sarkozy. He was the leader of, and that's his wife Carla Bruni. He was the president of France, and now he's about to start a 5-year stretch at I don't know, Her Majesty's pleasure. I don't think they have that anymore, but but there you go. There's quite an inspiring picture on the front cover of the Mirror today, which I'll tell you to know. Britain isn't broken. You are amazing. Keir's praise at number 10. Star Luke Eyes Deputy PM's role. And Pride of Britain winners got Heroes Welcome in numbers 10 yesterday, so that they all are there. These are the people who won the Pride of Britain Awards. And Keir Starmer praised their bravery and inspiration and gave them a personal tour, which is nice, a nice news story for a change. And here's a horrible news story with Bozo, the killer clown, who apparently wanted to kill Gavin Williamson over the school's U-turn. He went homicidal, apparently. There he is. Gavin Williamson, he wanted to kill him, apparently. That's what he said in the COVID inquiry yesterday. Wow. We have a super chat come in. Thank you very much for the super chat, David Smith. Woohoo. Is Andrew technically able to lose the Prince title? Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Edward VIII stopped being king, didn't he? No, he can lose it. I think it requires an act of parliament unless he relinquishes it himself, which would be good. I want him to relinquish it. But I also kind of want an act of parliament to force him to, because that'd be more humiliating for the fucker. That'd be great. Really shocking stuff in the Virginia Giuffre book. She talks about being raped. Sorry, trigger warning here. She talks about being raped. In the UK edition, it says by a minister. In the American edition, it says by a notable prime minister. A prime minister who's quite a famous prime minister. And I'm thinking, what the fuck? Who around the world was prime minister at that time when she was being used and abused by Epstein and his circle of wealthy, well-connected, gruesome rapist men, which included Trump, by the way. Although she wasn't abused by Trump, but she was abused by Prince Andrew, and she claims that she was brutally raped by a prime minister. We need to find out who the fuck this was. Who was it? Because, it's one thing bandying names about. Is there anybody else out there? Because the one thing about rapists is if they get away with it, they very rarely rape once in their entire life. Maybe there's some other victims out there that could come forward. But that is really, really fucking grim. Really fucking grim. Men with power. That's why, all things being equal, maybe men shouldn't be allowed in positions of power anymore until they sort the shit out. Sort all your shit out, men. You fucking dickheads. And don't give me the not all men bullshit. George only, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Brexit was a con, all right. I've been trying to say this for 9 years. How is a con? How is it not a con if it's based on blatant lies? It's a con. A con. Yeah, absolutely. It is a con from top to bottom, from middle out. So go back to the papers. Help ensure Shasha's evil killer stays inside prison. This is to do with there's a 28-day limit on appealing the levels of sentences that on things that are seen as lenient. So this is a horrible story about Sasha Marsden, who was only 16, who was stabbed by this fucking nutter who might go free in 2048, which, Katie, the sister of Sasha there holding up a picture, is saying that's too lenient for what this monster did. And do you know what? I kind of agree. Look, honestly, we don't have that many murders a year. We don't. We really don't. So when people do commit murder, throw the fucking book at them. Throw the fucking book at them. There's not any kind of mitigating circumstances like, the result of domestic violence, not the result of a response against domestic violence, systematic domestic violence, people defending themselves, women defending themselves. Obviously, you got to take each case as it comes. But yeah, generally speaking, premeditated murder, fuck off. Just get out of society. You've had your chance, and you did that. That's what you chose to do with your life. So yeah, the iPaper here has how daughters plan to distance themselves from toxic York brand up here. And then we've got a bit harsh on Tom York. And then we've got the Kennedys, a dynasty in disarray. RFK Jr. is more a chip off the old block than the family cares to think. Indeed. Revealed UK's red lines in Brexit reset food deal, live animal exports, gene editing, and foie gras. Encore foie gras. Key concerns. We will see. And benefits set to rise by 4% as problems pile up for Reeves. Benefits are on track to be hiked by 4% next year, lower than increase in state pension due to higher than expected inflation, which was confirmed this morning. It leaves Chancellor facing triple whammy of higher borrowing costs and pension and benefit rises. Treasury expects September's rate of inflation to hit 4%, the highest since January 2024. And those of you who watch these shows know that I am not a big fan of simple solutions to complex problems. However, if we open the door to immigration and we rejoin the EU, we will make a fuckload of money. We will make more money than you could possibly imagine. We can stuff this country full with another 30 million people. And those 30 million people can all fucking pay a lot of tax, right? And we didn't have to pay for their education. We didn't have to pay for their healthcare in the first 20 odd years of their lives. They'll turn up and they will fucking work. And they will pay tax on their work. And then when they buy things, they'll pay VAT on the things that they buy. Being double taxed, like most people are. Except people who want to protest against having to pay inheritance tax, who are like, why am I being double taxed? Every time I buy something in a shop, pretty much, it's got to be double taxed. Because I've already paid tax on my earnings and I have to pay tax on the thing that I buy. It's called VAT. It's called VAT. That's what you have to pay tax on. You're being taxed twice on the same thing. No, you're not. It's not. But yeah, two things that we could do. Open the borders. I don't mean that open them to anyone. I mean, open them in terms of just making it easier to come here and work. We need to poach the brightest and the best from America. Take them. America doesn't want them. I'd much rather, and don't accuse me of being racist by saying this, right? But I would rather have, and let me explain it, right? I'd rather have people coming over who have university degrees from America than from West Africa, okay? The reason being, those people with university degrees are needed in West Africa. We are causing a brain drain in Ghana and Nigeria and other countries around the continent of Africa. And also we're causing a brain drain in India as well, and Bangladesh and Pakistan, because people with degrees fucking leave and come here, right? So if there was an option, and this isn't to do with skin color or religion or ethnicity or whatever, or nothing to do with any of that or culture, I'm just saying that America doesn't want its university graduates. It just wants to regress to some kind of techno-feudalist state. Fine, let it fail. Put it into managed decline. They seem to want it. You've seen the White House; it's been torn down by that Trump monster. But if we issued millions more visas for work, then people to come here, people want to come here. They want to work. If we did that, we would have so much money we wouldn't know what to do with it. We would overtake Germany in our economy. Rejoin the EU, issue shitloads more visas. And I know that seems overly simplistic, but it is the way that it'll work. And any economist worth their salt will tell you that. Otherwise, you're just rearranging the fucking deck chairs on the Titanic, to be quite frank. So we've got another good news story actually on the front cover of the fuck off, Jesus, adverts. On the front cover of The Guardian. We've got family law shift hailed as victory for children facing domestic abuse Courts will no longer presume contact with both parents is best. Thank fucking God this has happened, right? Or it's happening. This move has been heralded as groundbreaking by family lawyers. Okay, trigger warning. Up to this point, a child conceived in rape would, in a court, if the rapist wanted visitation rights for the child, they would have to take into account the fact that that rapist was the child's father. Now they don't. Okay? They're doing away with that. Because so many victims of rape, of domestic violence, have had to stay in contact with their abuser in order to arrange for their child to spend time with said abuser. Because that's what the family courts had to do. It's almost as though we live in a patriarchy where all the rules are written by men. I don't know. Ivan, thank you very much for the £20 super chat. That's very kind of you, my friend. We are not all the same on this channel. We are broad church, currently trembling with a panic attack. My heart feels like it's going to explode. I don't have the enthusiasm on this subject matter. I have higher priorities. Sorry, Ivan. Mate, as I've said before, please look after yourself first. Thank you so much for the super chat. But please, if this is making you panic, if it's putting you in that kind of anxious state, please turn it off. I'm not going to say anything you haven't heard before. Chill out. Make sure you're relaxed and you're in a safe place and you can bring that heart rate down. Okay. I'll be back later today at 6 o'clock. It's going to be me and Rachel. Anything but politics. We're not going to be talking about politics. We're going to be talking about James fucking Bond or something, right? We're not going to be talking about politics. Please join us for that. We can have a bit of a chat and a bit of a laugh, and we can leave politics at the door. Ironically, on a channel called Politics Social. But please, mate, you've got to take care of yourself first. You've got to take care of your mental health before everything else. And I really, really appreciate your support of this channel. But please, do what you have to do. There's ways of, I always find when I'm feeling like discombobulated, like distractions are good, and fidget toys for me, ADHD, yo. So I've got a pen in my hands. But yeah, whatever works for you, mate. Whatever works for you. But please don't feel like you've got to be here if it's causing you to suffer from anxiety. And you're getting hugs in the chat, and Mr. Tish saying you need time away from it. And also we've got Diz saying, please take care of yourself, Ivan. So a lot of love coming in for Ivan in the chat. So take care of yourself, Ivan. Okay, so back onto the papers. Yeah, so I was just talking about domestic violence and rapists having access to their children, and how ridiculous this fucking was, and how upsetting and horrible it was for the people, the women usually, who were having to keep contact with their abuser in order to arrange visits. Like, no, that's it. Clean cut. You've fucked it. You can't have any connection with your child. Maybe when they're 18 years old and they want to reconnect with their rapist father, they can. But until then, no connection. Anyway, so and then the other story on the front cover of the Guardian there, Sarkozy starts 5-year term in prison for criminal conspiracy, and also Brexit to blame for cuts, says Rachel Reeves. Rachel Reeves has blamed a heavier than anticipated blow from Brexit and austerity for forcing her to take action to balance the books at next month's budget. I mean, this is where someone can be right and wrong at the same time, right? She's right that austerity and Brexit has caused big problems, but to say that that it was a heavier than anticipated blow is pure, unmitigated, unfiltered, cast iron, copper-bottomed, dead set bullshit. Okay? We knew how bad it was going to be. We fucking told you how bad it was going to be over and over again. So don't be saying now, oh, it's worse than we thought it was going to be. No, this is exactly as bad as we thought it was going to be. We weren't wrong. We were right. We were right about everything. There you go. That's our new fucking slogan. Remainers, let's get a cap. Remainers were right about everything. There you go. That's our new cap. get me a blue cap, right? And I want it to say, Remainers were right about everything. Please, that's what I want. I want that. I was right. The three most beautiful words in the universe. You were right. Tell your sister you were right. Anyway, so moving on up, as Primal Scream once sang. We've got revealed adverts for radiators. Fuck off, God. You look up radiators once because you're cold. And that's it. You just get adverts for radiators forever. Revealed how experts think raids will raid your next egg in the budget. There's the fear-mongering daily fail here. Grooming gangs inquiry in chaos, which was mentioned in the chat a moment ago. Labour probe into child sex abuse falling apart as potential chairman of 3 victims pull out amid cover-up fears. So obviously the government needs to step in and make sure that this inquiry goes ahead as it should do. Real reason King can't force Andrew to quit Royal Lodge. I don't know what that reason is, but whatever. And then we'll head over to the Daily Telegraph, which is a rag, right-wing gutter rag. Killer looks, how to dress like a traitor. Skipping breakfast, that could be fatal. Okay. Putin defies Trump as peace talks collapse. He's not going to fly to Hungary now for peace talks. Hilariously, the Polish government have said that if he tries flying over Poland on his way to Hungary, they will down his plane and fucking arrest him. And they shoot down his fucking plane. He shoots down other people's planes. Well, he shot down MH17 with 300 innocent people on board. I wouldn't have a problem with the Polish fucking firing a rocket at his fucking plane, the bastard. To solve a lot of the problems in the world, it really would. Because then there'll be a power vacuum in Russia, because he's made sure that any possible contenders, like who might be next in line to the throne of Moscow, he's made sure that they're all fucking dead. He's made sure they're all in jail or been thrown out of a fucking window or dead. There's no one waiting in the wings. So once Putin carks it, Russia's fucked for a generation. Absolutely fucked. What a shame. What a shame. Graham needs radiators. Get a better radiator. That's good. Not quite as good as get a better carburetor, though. When I was a kid in the 90s, my mum hit my hands because I fidgeted. Now I know I have ADHD. She taught me how to do it myself. She didn't, as I didn't show that at school. She led me to smoke and keep that hid. Says Blue Badger. Yeah, a lot of people with ADHD smoked because they needed something to do with their hands. How mad is that? How mad is the idea that people started a habit that fucking kills you if you do it correctly? It's one of the few products in the world that you can buy that literally kill you if you use them correctly. Because of a misdiagnosis of ADHD. And, I had that. I was told I was hyperactive as a child. I think the H in ADHD stands for hyperactive. And so, I wasn't allowed to buy sweets at the fucking tuck shop because, the sugar would drive me crazy. I'd have a sugar rush and I'd run around bouncing off the walls like a Looney Tunes cartoon. But, the reality was that I had friends who I could say, can you get me a Highland toffee? And I'd give them 20p and they'll get me a Highland toffee. And I'll sit there eating me fucking Highland toffee because Highland toffees were fucking great and I fucking loved them. Give me a wham bar. Fuck yes, wham bars. Wham bars were fucking ace. So good. Give me a fucking curly whirly, a proper size one, not the little tiny little fucking midget ones that we have these days, the little fun size ones. God, imagine putting on your Tinder profile or your Grindr profile that you're fun sized. Yeah, that's not going to go down well. But then again, if you put family size, that sounds even more fucked up. Anyway, moving on. We've got the papers here. So I'm just amusing myself. We've got the Daily Telegraph here. Putin defies Trump as peace talks collapse. And then we've got Reeves eyes 2 billion tax raid on GPs and lawyers, which is the middle class tax raid that we heard about earlier. It's not a tax raid. It's sewing up a loophole that allows people to pay less tax than they should. If they had a different job in different circumstances, earning exactly the same money, they would have to pay more tax. So yeah, get rid of the loopholes. Just do it. And there's Carla Bruni saying goodbye to her husband, who's going to jail for being a twat. Andrew's Royal Lodge in future in doubt after losing Business Lifeline. Now this is interesting. So the Telegraph is reporting that the future of his royal lodge is in doubt, but other newspapers are reporting that it's rock solid and he's got it till 2028. So, 2078. He's got it for another 53 fucking years. Jesus Christ. But yeah, we've got a really, really funny story here in the Daily Telegraph. So let me take you back to the Telegraph. We've got Ian Dunkin' Donuts here. Nandi must block Telegraph sale in the national interest. So this is about the Telegraph being sold to some foreign bidder somewhere. Fucking sell it. I didn't give a shit when you were selling all your newspapers to Murdoch, hey? Was he the right flavour of foreigner? Hey? Did he taste all right, did he? Unlike one of those other people who taste different. They look a bit different. Is that the problem? Is that the problem? You don't want some, I don't know, autocratic regime taking over your newspapers? Because what? What's going to happen? What's going to happen, Dunkin' Donuts? Do you think that maybe they'll be trotting out autocratic lines to get people to, I don't know, bring back the death penalty, to kill people for being, I don't know, different? Yeah, maybe. But there you go. To block the sale of the Telegraph, says the front page of the Telegraph. Now there's a story on the Metro here about Boris Johnson. So trigger warning for people who hate Boris Johnson with a pathological loathing, as I do. There he is, the fucking clown. Former PM Boris Johnson leaves inquiry there, just because he's a twat. Boris Johnson has admitted school children paid a huge price for Britain's COVID lockdown. The former Prime Minister told the official inquiry into the pandemic that shutting schools for millions of pupils had been a nightmare, but denied claims his government did not plan for it. They totally didn't plan for it. Don't be fucking daft. You are a bit deluded if that's what you are. That's what you're putting out there. Clearly. Anyway, so I'll move on now, not least because I don't want to have to look at Boris Johnson's face anymore. But Boris Johnson, completely fucking useless. Led to the deaths of lots and lots of people. Lots and lots of British people died because of Boris Johnson, because he was fucking useless at his job. Imagine being that useless at your job that 230,000 people die. And you get away with it because you're rich and you went to Eton, and you got powerful friends. You went to school with all the lawyers, all the judges who would possibly ever take you to task. Hard truth, how finding a dentist became Britain's biggest class divide. Well, yeah, it's pretty grim. Did I tell you I rang up my dentist the other day to say, I need to come in for a checkup? This was last month. Well, no, it was earlier this month. And they went, yeah, can you come in on the 16th of February 2026? And I'm like, for a checkup? I'm like, yeah. Wow. A kiss from Carla as Sarkozy begins prison sentence there. Brexit hit economy even harder than feared, says Reeves, leaving the EU needlessly added cost for British businesses, so we're rebuilding ties with Brussels. Chancellor says with 1 month to go until crunch budget aimed at turning around dire public finances. So good luck with doing that without opening the door to immigrants and also to rejoining the EU. Two things that the rich do not want us to do, because the rich don't want this country to prosper. And the two policies that could actually bring in a huge economic benefit to this country, which is opening up to 1 million more people each year being given visas on top of the number of people who are getting visas anyway to work here, opening up the doors for people to work here and also to rejoin the EU. The two things that the rich, moneyed, privately educated elite want to stop more than anything else. Not a coincidence. They don't want this country to prosper. They want to do everything in their power to bankrupt this country financially, economically, socially, morally. They want it bankrupt. They want everything corrupt. They want a boot stamping on a human face forever to be our future. And that's what will happen if you listen to Nigel Farage and his bastard mates who are trying to destroy this country, because they're being told to by their handlers in Russia. And if you don't believe me that they're working for the Russians, I have two words for you, Benjamin. Nathan Gill. Not working for the Russians. Funny how everyone around Farage is crooked, but he's all right. He's the one. He's the one who's not a crook. He's the one who's not a wife beater. He's the one who's not a rapist. He's the one who's not working for the Russians. Argentina cannot easily exit the populist trap. We talk about Argentina quite a lot on on the Geoscope show, because it's run by a lunatic called Javier Milei, who is just a fucking lunatic. He's a gobshite, and he's driving his country into the ground. But he's being propped up by Donald Trump, who is apparently sending $40 billion in some shipping containers, literally the actual money in shipping containers over to Argentina to bail him out. The surprising obesity gene, the surprising upside of the obesity gene. And then we've got historic vote. Japan elects its first female PM, which is great in a way because, women. And she's also put 2 women in the cabinet, which makes a change. However, she is to the right of Margaret Thatcher. Shit. So yeah, we'll be interested to see what happens next there. Ivan, very, very, very generous, Ivan. Thank you very much. Thank you. I will always stay true to myself and uphold what I think. I need to find a way of not feeling intimidated on the matters when I don't share the majority view on the channel. Not easy, but I always stay true to myself. Yeah, Ivan, honestly, you do really well. You do really well, and I know it's difficult, and I know that the majority view, I mean, it might not even be a majority view. It might just be one person who's very fucking, bullshit about it. But like, we as humans are never going to agree on absolutely everything. The best way forward, this is why we try and muddle our way through our lives as best we can. And the biggest lie, that we're told as kids is that adults know what they're doing. We don't. We're just kind of making it up as we go along and doing the best with the information that we are given. It seems a bit mad that the information we're given now is like every book ever written available on a portable device in our pocket. Some kind of hitchhiker's guide to the, I don't know, what would you call it? The universe, I guess. And yet, Ivan, we still feel like many of us are flailing around in the dark, trying to think of, clever ways out of the shit that we've found ourselves in, because the people in charge don't have our best interest at heart, and have not had our best interest at heart for a very, very long time, if ever. Bailey hears alarm bells over private credit after big US corporate failures. Bank of England chief sees 2008 parallels. First group and trickle out sends warning. High leverage stirs fears to do with, this is probably to do with the financial bubble caused by AI, the AI bubble, which looks like it's going to pop anytime now, and it's going to drag a lot of people down with it. But, the rich, they'll make money. They will make bank. They will short it. They will know. The richest people in the world will know an hour before the bubble bursts, and they will short the fucking living shit out of tech stocks. They will short the living bejesus out of NASDAQ. And so even when that goes off a cliff, the NASDAQ goes off a cliff, they will make coin. They will make so much fucking bank. It'll make your fucking head spin. It'll be the biggest transfer of wealth from us to the already incredibly wealthy since COVID, which was in history the biggest transfer of wealth from us to the already incredibly wealthy. COVID. And then you go. It's there is an AI bubble and a crypto one too. Yeah. It's kind of linked though, isn't it? It's kind of linked. It's all hype with very little fundamentals. Ivan, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Just need to point out that inflation has stayed at 3.8% rather than increasing to 4%. Yes, it's actually stayed the same for the last 3 months. Thank you very much for the super chat there, Ivan. But yeah, it's still too fucking high. Should be 2%. Should be 2%, my friend. Pentagon enlists buyout firms in drive to fund 150 billion overhaul of Army's kit. The US Army has challenged private equity groups, including Apollo, Carlyle, KKR, and Cerebus, to pitch meaty projects to help the service fund a $150 billion infrastructure overhaul. That is fucking crazy, isn't it? That's just the maddest. But there you go. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that because lots more of me later today. I don't want you to get bored of me. Don't want you to get sick of me. as if you could ever get sick of me. I'll be back at 12 o'clock for Prime Minister's Questions if you want to watch that along with me so we can curse together and discuss what the questions are being asked and what we think of it in real time as they're being asked. And we'll see if Kemi Badenoch can actually land a punch this time on Keir Starmer. I don't think she can because she's not very good at it. I could. I think most of the people watching this could. I think your average bloke in the street or woman in the street could totally do it. But for some reason, Kemi Badenoch really shit at being leader of the opposition. Exceptionally shit. So long may she continue being the leader of the opposition. So I'll be back at 12 with that. And 6 o'clock tonight, me and Rach are teaming up to give you another episode of The Rabbit Hole, Anything But Politics. So please join us for that. And otherwise, see you tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, bright and early for another morning brew. And until then, give us a like on the way out. Give us a like. We always like a like. Consider joining. Joining is always good. Rather than super chat. Maybe if you want to just join the channel and you'll get your name on the credits when I redo them. And also you'll get a rose after your name and you'll also get access to the Discord server. The Politics Social Discord server, which is a lot of fun. So, well, I think it's a lot of fun. Your mileage may vary. Anyway, so consider that. And also, if you will consider subscribing. If you're not already subscribed, please subscribe to the channel because it really helps us out getting the message out that I think we should get the message out that, you know, not everyone is the private school elite who think that destroying the country is a good idea. Anyway, until next time, thanks for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.